What's up, guys? Welcome to the Kickbase MLS Fantasy Podcast. I'm your usual host, Favi and Renkel, and alongside me, I have my usual co-host, Justin Ruderman. What's up, Justin? Welcome to the pod.
What's up, Favi? Good to be back. Another exciting week, some more records and some more stars going off to rack up those Kickbase points.
Yeah, it seems like we've been gone for about 2 weeks now, the international break and the last game week. So, yeah, some exciting things. Let's quickly recap the last game week because the stars showed up.
The stars absolutely showed up, and you can see that with the team of the game week. It was the most expensive team of the game week that we've had, highest value players in there. You had Messi, you had Bouanga, you had Son, large part because LAFC dismantled Orlando 6-0. Son became the second player in MLS history to record 4 assists in a half, next to Messi, who did it previously. And Bouanga scored the third fastest hat trick within 10 minutes for LAFC, all assisted by Son. So they racked up the points. Bouanga, the highest scoring player yet this season with his hat trick, and then he added an assist as well. Complete domination. I think that we both saw that coming. I captained Bouanga in a bunch of leagues. I know you had him as well. So it was, a really good performance, and some other performances as well, like San Jose smacked around San Diego 3-0. That is a real statement win, in my opinion. I know that there's a couple players that you saw in that game for sure.
Yeah, look, Sebastian Berhalter went off with the international break and then came back, played a killer of a game. The last play of the game, he had a crazy tackle, ran the whole field, and scored the game winner. So
I'm so glad you brought that up because it was funny. We talked about this like 2 or 3 weeks ago when he did the same thing against the same team. Remember, he did it against Portland, and he made that incredible last-ditch tackle against Christopher Velde. And I came on the pod, and I said, this is why I have to put Sebastian Berhalter in my lineup. And then he performed, and now he's doing the same exact thing and then going to the other end and scoring the goal, right, to win the game in stoppage time with basically the last kick of the game. So it's so telling that he just repeatedly keeps doing this.
Yeah, and Sebastian Berhalter is the Kickbase MVP of the season so far. So it's actually really funny if you don't have Berhalter in your lineup every week, you're kind of missing out. So definitely Berhalter's the guy that we're always going to be talking about. But now that we're talking about my home, we're talking about the San Jose Earthquakes a little bit. Nico Sekiris has turned into a overnight sensation, honestly. A guy who's always had the talent, just never made that next step. And against San Diego, to me, and a lot of people around MLS, he made that next step. He had a crazy goal, scored a penalty, was on every set piece, was in the 300 point range, which is insane because you get him at like minus or under $8 million in Kickbase. So, Nico Sekiris is a guy we are definitely keeping our eye on. And I would say he's up there in our best budget plays with Audrey Mehmedi.
Yeah, absolutely. And give Bruce Arena some credit here because we've talked about some interesting quotes from Bruce Arena about the players that he moved on, but he also said in those preseason press conferences, Nico Sekiris is going to play a big role for us. This is a breakout year for him, and we expect a lot from him. He gave him the number 10 jersey, and he's performing. So Bruce Arena, man, some people said that he was past it. Some people said that he was washed. Let me tell you right now, he is not.
Yeah, and let's talk about another team that has a lot of young players that I actually saw this weekend is the New York Red Bulls. I think the Red Bulls proved that they're going to score a lot of goals. They may give up some goals, but they're going to score goals. And leading that charge is Julian Hall. He has 5 goals in 6 games. The 18-year-old is another budget buy in Kickbase that you should always keep an eye out, and he's becoming a Kickbase superstar, in my opinion.
He absolutely is. He set another record for most goals in the first 6 games or something like that.
Exactly.
At the youngest age, 18. So he's, young player bagging those goals at a young price. And I mean, if you're keeping a DP and Eric Maxime Choupo-Moting either on the bench or out of position, then you're doing a pretty good job, I have to say.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that kind of wraps it up for the recap. We want to give you guys a little bit more of a preview this week because one thing we didn't do a couple weeks ago is the CCC scare. So we definitely have to really look into that this week. We just watched LAFC thrash Cruz Azul midweek. Wow. And we're going to have to be looking at those teams playing in CCC this weekend. But also, RSL and Seattle aren't playing a game. They rescheduled their match for later. I think it's in September. But because of CCC. So there is a huge CCC scare with those two teams, but there's also teams that we should keep an eye on.
Yeah, no, Real Salt Lake with Diego Luna coming back and Xavier Gozo's popping off, and they have all these pieces as Arcani, Giavogi. that looks like a team where there's a lot of players that I want to pick, but unfortunately can't pick them this week. So got to look at, as you say, Seattle is in CONCACAF. And so it's fine. To me, I probably wasn't going to pick those players either, but it's looking at a team like LAFC who dismantled Orlando, then went and dismantled a giant of Mexico in Cruz Azul. And you think, oh, Sun's flying, Bouanga's flying, David Martinez is flying. Maybe I want to pick those players. Well, but they're going to Portland, maybe an okay matchup, but they're traveling away. Then they got to go to Mexico next week. Maybe they're going to rest some players, maybe not. It's a risk that you have to take. Same thing with Nashville and the LA Galaxy as well, that you have to be aware if you want to take that risk. I think that you also have to consider, because this is the week that MLS teams enter the U.S. Open Cup, that there could be rotation there, although I'm less worried, right? I think that you would rotate more likely in the U.S. Open Cup, whereas it's a little bit different where the Champions League is valued a little bit higher and people might rest in MLS for the Champions Cup. So I'm looking at the teams that if you don't have either of those, then those are the teams that I'm looking at especially and saying, oh, well, I know they're going to start. So those are the teams that I might look at especially heavily. Those teams like a San Diego who have a good matchup and got knocked out of the Champions Cup. So they have no Champions Cup. They have no U.S. Open Cup. And
like Miami.
Right. And they're playing a Minnesota team who we think of them as a good defensive team, right? But if you look at the statistics, actually, all 12 goals that they've conceded this season.
Miami's actually with the Red Bulls this week.
Minnesota.
Oh.
Minnesota is playing at San Diego, and they're usually a good defensive team historically in the past few years, but they've conceded 12 goals this season. All 12 of those goals have been away from home. So they've been playing well at home. Defensively, maybe on the road, you look at a player to go, and that's kind of how I'm picking my teams, is trying to decide who is going to win the MVP next week. Who might score a hat trick? That's what I've done the past 2 weeks. I picked Surridge. I picked Bouanga. Maybe a little bit easier because they both went up against Orlando in those 2 weeks. But if I'm looking at who's going to score a hat trick, I'm thinking maybe an Anders Dreyer, maybe a Wessam Abou Ali if I'm going to continue the trend against Orlando, right? Maybe a Josh Sargent against Cincinnati, who also has conceded, I think, 11 goals away from home. So a lot of options there with teams that are good matchups and players that are coming into their own. Like Sargent scored his first goal last week.
Yeah, I'm going to go back a little bit to the CCC topic. You might want to be cute this week too and take a look at a guy like Nathan Ordaz, right? If they do rotate that squad, Ordaz might get the start and he might have a lot of chances as the focal point starting over Sun. I in my opinion, LAFC went up 3-0, but you still probably want to have Bouanga out there during your MLS, because Bouanga is the most fit player in all of MLS. So if anyone is going to play every single game, in my opinion, it's Bouanga. So Bouanga's a little safer to me than Sun. I think Sun maybe plays, but maybe a half or maybe 50 to 60 minutes. And then you kind of take a look at a guy like Ordaz. Maybe he's the one that kind of gets more minutes. And if you want to be cute, you could definitely go Ordaz. Excuse me. But Miami is a team this weekend that doesn't have CCC, doesn't have U.S. Open Cup. They're playing against a very leaky, young Red Bulls team in their new stadium. You know they're going to be mad that they didn't win that last game, that Biro scored the first goal in the stadium, and everyone's lying about it. But honestly, if I'm somebody, I don't trust any other Miami player, maybe besides Messi and Mikhail, because Mikhail is actually doing okay on that back line. A little pricey for my taste, because you can get some good defenders in other parts of around the league. But Messi for this week, I think I'm definitely going to line up. It's an easy decision. Now, going to other teams that aren't in CCC that are playing great matchups, whoever's playing Orlando, I think is a solid choice, right? So,
and that's Columbus Crew this week.
Yeah, Wessam has scored, I think, 3 goals in 2 games, something like that. He's on a tear.
Scored 5 goals this season already. He's doing well.
Yeah, and Columbus has found their offensive, identity once more. And that's why personally last week I went with a lot of LAFC players if my league allowed. And this week it's going to be the Columbus Crew. I think I'm going to go with Max Arfston in my backline. Yes, he's expensive, but he's going to be completely involved in that offense. And if they score 3 or 4 goals, he's going to be on assist, either getting the goals himself. I truly think that is a good play. Now, do I go with a center back from them? Do I go with the Moreira? Because we have to remember, if they get 3 or 4 goals, they get an extra 5 points per goal. And if they hold that clean sheet, if they get that win, that's an extra 15. Now, do you get that from your center backs? Often, maybe not. Like you go with the Harrington, Lucas Harrington from Colorado, and if they play against Houston and they lose, you don't get those bonuses. So that's kind of where I'm at now is like, do I choose a center back from a team that I know is going to score a lot of goals and get that win to get all those bonuses, because that's an extra 30 to 40 points we're looking at? Or do I go with a center back that I know is better, right? So that's kind of my strategy this week is like, okay, I'm starting Messi. I'm going to have guys who are going to score goals or are going to go up against a defense that is very leaky. So I'm going up against the Red Bulls and Orlando. But what type of center back do I go with? Do I go with the guy who's affordable, but he's up against a great offense like Houston Dynamo? Or do I go with a Columbus Crew like Steven Moreira, who's playing against Orlando?
It's a great question and an important dilemma, but that's why I think we're focusing so heavily on these matchups and saying who's playing against who and who's conceding at home, who's conceding away, who's scoring a lot of goals. All of these things, like you might look at a New England Revolution DC United game and say, well, 2 mid-table teams, maybe they'll score, maybe they won't. But I look at it and I say, well, actually, New England's 2-0 at home right now. Langoni's cooking.
Yep.
They always have Carlos Heel there. I might pick those players, but then I look at DC and I say, well, they haven't been as bad away from home. They've only conceded, I think, 2 goals away from home this season. So there's these dilemmas that you have to go with and say, well, if I want to have a little bit of a cheaper player and I want to fit somebody in like a Langoni, maybe I sacrifice the money there, save a little bit of cash, and that I can spend on Messi because I want him in my lineup this week, right? So, or maybe I decide, okay, I'm going to take the risk and go for Silvetti or Segovia and hope they start. Maybe Bertarame does get the start. Maybe he doesn't. All of these things are risks that you have to take, but they're calculations for sure.
Are there any guys in your lineup who are for sure starts no matter what their price is?
For sure start this week?
Yeah, this week.
Absolutely. I think that Dreyer is in my lineup. I think Wessam Abulali is in my lineup. Those are the 2, and then I'm going to try and work around that. If I can fit Messi in, I'm going to try and fit him in, but with the price, it's sometimes hard depending on the budget in each league. Some leagues are easier to fit him in. Those leagues he'll definitely be in. But for me, you have to have Columbus Crew player, whether that's Wessam Abulali or it's Diego Rossi or Max Arston, as you've mentioned before. You have to have a couple of those guys when they're playing Orlando. Orlando, I think, is on track to concede the most goals ever in an MLS season. I think they're absolutely going to break that record, which I believe is 75 goals or something like that. They're already at a third of that. So they're well on their way, which means you have to line up players when they're playing against Orlando. And then, like I said, Dreyer and San Diego need a bounce back result. They don't have Champions Cup. They don't have US Open Cup. They're playing a team that concedes a lot away from home. These are the matchups that I'm looking for. And yeah, if I can fit other of those players that I've mentioned before in those lineups, that's definitely what I'm going to go for as well. Berhalter, I think that he's one you just leave in.
Yeah, right. Like, don't touch Berhalter, especially at his price point of $33 million. You really can't move him at all. My whole thing is, you can't. Sometimes, like, I had way too much budget, but I'm still going with Nico Sequeiros. Mm-hmm. He's on the ball way too much to not have him in your lineup. I think he takes set pieces. He's a penalty kick taker now for San Jose. I truly think maybe Timo comes back, but I still think Nico at his price point is a for sure start for me in every single lineup. Now, we do have to do a little bit of housekeeping because there is already a player that is suspended, a player that has been balling as of lately. His name is Wilfried Zaha.
That man, how did he already get 5 yellow cards? How did he pull that off,
games.
Man?
Yeah.
It tells you who Wilfried Zaha is, man.
And no, I just wanted to say that because maybe our fans, don't watch Charlotte games, but the guy's a baller, but definitely gets a lot of yellow cards. And
he's very passionate on the pitch, shall we say.
No, 100%. Another thing I want to bring up is we're already 18% through the MLS season.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of wild to think about it, but if you see a trend happening, it's already a trend. It's not a fluke at this point. So that's why I know a lot of you guys don't like going with gut feelings, but trends are already happening.
Yep.
So I truly think that looking at a guy like Nico Sekiris becoming that 10, being on the ball like that, 100% is gonna keep going. Now, when Timo Werner's in the lineup, it's probably a little less. He's taking less set pieces, but again, at that price point, you can't go wrong.
But maybe it, moves a little bit of the opponent's defensive pressure off of him, defensive focus away from him onto Timo Werner, and there's a little bit more space for him to operate. But I think it's a great point you make that just because Nico Sekiris is cheap and that he can be used to fit into those lineups without as much budget, if you are playing in a league with 250, 300, 350 budget, and you have a ton of budget, but you say, well, I still want Nico Sekiris. You don't have to spend your whole budget. Your objective is to pick the best players for that week. It's not to spend your whole budget. And that's the key, I think. So it's a great point that you make on that idea, because I would definitely continue to keep Nico Sekiris, Adri Mehmeti. These are options in lineups. Xavier Gozo, not this week, but other weeks in midfield is a fantastic option. So you don't always have to pick the most expensive players. You're picking the players that are going to score you the most points.
No, 100%. I think with the challenges we'll bring up a little later, the special challenge, you kind of get that where you can possibly have a little extra money there, and you might just want to go with the guys you want. So, but that's pretty much it for our preview. To wrap that up really quickly, watch out for CCC. Play the guys that aren't going to be rotating, or at least are worth the rotation, like a Bouanga. But that kind of makes us go into a segment called the Play the Pro League. Mm-hmm. This is a league where I play against all the pros in MLS, but there's also a couple of fans that are in there, along with Eli Lesser.
Let me know who's at the top. I know that you have been fighting for it. Hani's been up there. Julian Gressel's been up there. Who's at the top right now?
Yeah, personally, I killed it last week. I'm not going to lie, man. I got like 2,400 points, something absolutely crazy. Yeah, 2,464 points.
My guy's chefing it up, cooking.
All I know is nobody touched me last week, all right? So the new rankings now is Hani in first place. Hani, he's playing in CCC, but he still has time to set his lineup in.
So he knows when the rotation is coming for Nashville. He's
exactly.
locked in, and then when they don't rotate, he just puts 6 or 7 Nashville players,
right,
and they win 5-0 against Orlando and rack up all those points. He knows what he's doing.
So Hani's in first place. I made it back into second place now. And then Julian Gressel is in third. Omir Fernandez, a guy who's never played Kickbase before, in fourth place with a solid point total. And then Thomas Mueller in fifth place, which is actually kind of shocking because he's maybe played a lot of Kickbase. Handy's played a lot of Kickbase too, but I'm coming for first place because I have the most points in the whole season with 8,700 points. So that's kind of our little update of the Play the Pro League. And I feel like the fans need to get a little, or at least the fans in this league need to start stepping it up, man.
Impressive, man. See, this is what I want to know, because I know you love the head-to-head, and I am accustomed to the accumulation, and I, like you, have the most points in our office league and our journalist league, but I'm not top of the league in either of those because I've taken a couple L's. But you're feeling the same way. How are you feeling having the most points in the Play the Pro League, but not being at the top of the league?
That's how it is. Like every time I play fantasy football and someone says that to me, I'm like, sucks to suck. Like you got to be able to beat the person in front of you, But yeah, I mean, I just know that I can pick, it's a confidence boost to me, even though I'm behind him. Someone's got to beat Hanny so I can overtake him.
Got you.
But it's going to happen. I can just tell.
You just know you have the skills to make up the difference now.
Exactly. So, and with that in mind, I have the skills to win this next special challenge.
And this special challenge is really cool to me because this is one for the sickos. It is a 4-3-3 forced lineup in our game week challenge, and you have 150 million budget, very low. So you got to be able to mix and match your way to a good team. We've talked about the Audrey Medes, the Nico Securises, the cheaper. These are the players that you're going to have to fit in, and that's really exciting for me. So I would love to see what everybody is cooking up, what they're thinking for this one. But we also have a special challenge with Classic Football Shirts, right?
Yeah, Classic Football Shirts is a great partner of Kickbase, and I'm excited because theirs isn't as hard as the game week challenge, to be honest. It's actually something pretty fun, though. It's a 6-player lineup. Sometimes I actually like a 6-player lineup because it's a little more casual in that sense. You don't need to start Berg Johnson. But
hey, he's cooking, man.
yeah, he is. But yeah, so the classic football shirts is 150 million, 6 players. But let's go back to the game week. Do you have any picks for the game week challenge already? Because that's kind of the hot topic around Kickbase this week.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we just keep repeating the same names: the Audrey Mehmetis, the Julian Halls, the Nico Sakirises, these cheaper options. It would be a Tino Lopez if Seattle was playing there or not. But yeah, these type of players, that way you can fit in the other more expensive players that you're going for as well. The Guillermes are always an option there, I think.
Right. I'm going to give you guys some of my picks because I already have it done here. Ajimong from Charlotte.
Good pick.
Not
pick.
Patrick.
No.
Yeah, the new Ajimong.
The center back, the defender.
Yeah, $1 million. Great pick. You know, he's gonna, I mean, I think he's up against, Nashville. They're going to be rotating. So you don't know if all their players are going to be playing or even trying to go for that win. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a great pick. I have Benji Kikanovic. So Benji Kikanovic. So in this challenge, you can have 2 players from one team. So it's not too sicko, but Benji Kikanovic is a player who's 7.5 million. I like him a bit more than maybe Ricketts because I'm not sure if Ricketts is going to start. Right. But I think that's a solid pick for your defense. And then Ocampo, a Vancouver guy who's actually kind of cheap. Scored a goal.
Made team in the game week last week.
Yeah, he's 11 million on Kickbase. So that's kind of my back line. I have
great defender picks in there.
Yeah, the Red Bulls guys, of course, because they're affordable. But yeah, that's kind of some of the cheaper guys I have going. So
I love those picks for sure. Ajimong is one that I've put in a couple of my lineups in the past couple of weeks, but against Nashville, I'm a little bit hesitant with that one. But yeah, so some really good ones. Eddie Ocampo, fantastic pick. Team of the game week nomination, and Arfston we've talked about as well. I don't know how Arfston didn't make team of the game week last week, but that's just the way it is. It's really competitive. So some great picks as well. We've talked about midfield and attack, I think, as well. So we'll definitely get some picks up there for you.
And before to wrap it all up, I finally got Justin to join the club challenge last night, and he noticed on the Inter Miami one, because he's in that now, that you can't start Messi, right? Like,
I can't afford him, man. Otherwise, I gotta go with some really risky picks of players that I'm not sure are gonna start. I still kind of have to do that because Miami players are expensive, and that's the way that it's gonna be. Because if you're on a team that wins a lot, you're gonna get those extra goal bonuses, those win bonuses, and that means that your players are going to be a little bit more expensive. But yeah, I found a way though. I got my 6-player lineup. We're locking in. I'm here for you, Inter Miami fans. I'm trying to help you out. I need more of you in the club challenge so that we can climb these rankings together.
Yeah, it looks like the LA Galaxy are kind of storming up to the top 3, and the Seattle Sounders are kind of running away with it. But Chicago Fire fans, join me, all right? I'm on your side. I've never been to the Windy City. I like deep dish. I ain't gonna lie to you. But join me in the club challenge because Chicago Fire needs help. But yeah, there is MLS club challenges, so make sure you're in our Discord or follow us on Twitter because we like to post those updates, and you can join that challenge. But that wraps it up from us here in Brooklyn, New York at the Kickbase Studios. Thank you guys for tuning in, and best of luck on this game week.